Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 51. Magneto is in a hurry and decides to do it himself. After entering the Xavier Academy for Gifted Boys, the ability shown by the little rascal to absorb and plunder other people's super abilities made many students panic. It is also for this reason that the little rascal did not make any friends in Mutant Academy but was faintly isolated. Mystique, who had sneaked into Mutant Academy quietly, took advantage of this opportunity, used the trick of alienation, and finally successfully tricked the little rascal out of Mutant Academy. And in the Mutant Brotherhood headquarters on the other side, Magneto, the leader of the Mutant Brotherhood, has captured a MP who advocates the Mutant Registration Act. Magneto transformed the congressman who advocated the Mutant Registration Act into a mutant using a special device of his own making, the Gene Radiator. This kind of machine that transforms humans into mutants can only be activated by Magneto, and it puts a great burden on the body after activation. Simply transforming the senator into a mutant nearly killed Magneto. Magneto clearly realized that if he activated the Gene Radiator again, he would definitely risk his death. Considering this situation, Magneto searched the whole world for a mutant who could activate the special machine instead of him. After some inquiries, Magneto found the little rascal. Rascal has the ability to absorb other mutant abilities. It is naturally the best plan to let the little rascal absorb his own ability and activate the Gene Radiator instead of himself. In Magneto's eyes, sacrificing one little rascal can turn all the people attending tomorrow's global summit into mutants. This deal is absolutely worthwhile. Mutant, who was transformed into a member of parliament, escaped from Magneto because of his special ability. Magneto originally planned to stay on the member for follow-up health observation, but now that the member has fled, he has no time to wait any longer. The plan must be launched tonight. In Mutant Academy, Charles and others are also thinking about why Magneto wants to capture Wolverine. Everyone agrees that Wolverine does not seem to have any research value. And at this moment, the news of the disappearance of the little rascal was learned by Charles and others. Using the brainwave enhancement device, Charles quickly determined the location of the little rascal. The little rascal who was successfully used by Mystique to use the distance meter is at the station preparing to buy a ticket to leave. Knowing the location of the little rascal, Charles and others planned to discuss who would bring the little rascal back. But Wolverine disappeared without a trace at this moment, leaving Mutant Academy alone. The disappearance of Wolverine made everyone realize that something was wrong. Everyone knew that Logan should have left the academy to find the little rascal. Logan and the little rascal went through dangers along the way, and finally came to Mutant Academy smoothly. In Logan's opinion, Mutant Academy is the best place for little rascals to grow up. Logan, who has always regarded little rascal as his younger sister, couldn't just watch little rascal go away. After Charles found out about this, he immediately said, "We're heading to the station too." Logan's departure from Mutant Academy will definitely be Magneto's target. Magneto has lost twice in a row, this time he will definitely take the shot himself. When Charles and others left Mutant Academy to join Logan, the member of Mutant, who escaped from Magneto before, was also extremely uncomfortable. Because the body was forcibly modified by the Gene Radiator, Mr. Mutant only felt that his body was about to be torn apart. The congressman, who was tortured by endless pain all the time, suppressed his physical discomfort and finally decided to go to Xavier's school for help. After all the mutant executives left the academy, Mystique, who had sneaked into the Mutant Academy and hadn't left before, made another move. Mystique sneaked into the room where the brainwave enhancement device was placed, and without anyone noticing, injected a special substance into the brainwave enhancement device that Charles often wears. After doing all this, Mystique left contentedly. This special substance will work when Charles wears a brainwave enhancement device. The severe pain caused by the special substance will make Charles temporarily unable to use his super ability. Only when Charles, the easy spoiler, is completely eliminated, can Magneto's next plan unfold in an orderly manner. Mystique, who joined the Magneto camp, knows this well. Because of Sabretooth's previous losing streak, Magneto will be in charge of the action tonight. Sabretooth was nearly burned to ashes by the heat vision released by Carl last time, and thanks to his amazing self-healing ability, he barely survived. But even so, every time Magneto sees Sabretooth, he can't wait to tear this piece of trash to the bone. If it weren't for the fact that there are too few talents available for the current Mutant Brotherhood, Magneto would have already dealt with Sabretooth. Mutant Brotherhood doesn't support waste who keeps doing bad things. Carl, who was basking in the sun in the outer space of the planet, seemed to sense something. His deep eyes spanned a long distance in an instant, and finally landed near the station in NY City. This ability to manipulate magnetic fields, he should be Magneto, right? Chapter 52. As one of the leaders of Mutant, Magneto's combat power is naturally the best among Mutant. As a powerful mutant capable of manipulating magnetic fields, Magneto can show overwhelming power against enemies. With the special hat on Magneto's head, Carl can recognize Magneto at a glance. Carl felt that he probably didn't admit his mistake. No way, this person who just tore apart a section of a train carriage out of thin air is the Black Emperor in the Hellfire Club, right? In the movie, both the Black Emperor and Magneto have worn such helmets, but their abilities are completely different. I don't know if Magneto in this world has sons and daughters. His daughter Wanda is a border of Chaos Force, and his second daughter, Polaris Lorna, has perfectly inherited his father's ability to manipulate the magnetic field. Looking at Magneto's shot tonight, can he finally sit still? That's right, count the time. The global summit is coming soon. If his plan is not launched, he will miss the best time. Carl thought of this, and interest came to his face. Definitely, Carl wasn't so bored that he ran to the scene to intervene. Before the task was triggered, Carl was still basking in the sun as much as he could. It's only a few days before General Zod and others arrive on Blue Star. Carl needs to develop more in these few days, and it won't be too late to fish for a while later. Putting some of the focus on Logan and Charles was the right thing to do. After bringing Wolverine and Rascal to Mutant Academy, Carl realizes something very important. To put it simply, if you want to improve the integration progress of the Superman template, you must frequently contact these superhero or supervillain trigger tasks. Therefore, when Carl left Mutant Academy, he carefully focused part of his attention on Logan and Charles. This can be regarded as the foreshadowing left by Carl in advance. Wolverine Logan is a regular customer of Carl, and the two have become good friends over time. Needless to say, Charles is an old friend that Carl has known since college. These two old friends were well-known superheroes in their previous lives. In this world, it is also an indispensable part of the future cosmic events. It is for this reason that Carl believes that as long as he pays more attention to Wolverine and Charles, it is not difficult for him to trigger the task. Even though Carl saw Magneto's actions against his two old friends, Carl didn't want to take action. All he wanted to do now was to be a spectator, quietly enjoying Magneto and Charles's performance. As long as there is no interference from outsiders, Magneto's operation this time will definitely be successful. Wolverine, who had left from the Xavier Academy for Gifted Boys, soon arrived at the station. Relying on her keen sense of smell, Wolverine quickly found the little rascal who was sitting in a train carriage, with his head down. Logan and the little rascal haven't chatted a few words, and the sudden change happened. Boom boom boom. Wolverine and little rascal looked back with a sudden change of expression, and there was a piercing roar erupting from the rear of the carriage they were in. The other passengers sitting in the train carriage also turned their heads at this time. Seeing that the rear of the carriage made of steel was forcibly torn into two by an invisible terrifying force, all the ordinary passengers in the carriage let out terrified screams. Magneto's figure fell lightly in the carriage, looking at the ordinary people staring at him in horror, and finally focused his gaze on Wolverine with a calm face. Seeing Magneto's figure, Wolverine jumped to her feet. With a wave of both arms, the bones in the hand were immediately dislocated, and the hard and sharp wolf claws pierced Wolverine's skin, cutting the air with a sound, and appeared on Wolverine's hand. Calmly looking at Wolverine, who was in a fighting stance and was about to charge towards him, Magneto turned his head involuntarily. "Are you Wolverine?" Magneto said coldly. Logan knew that he had to be quick-witted when dealing with an enemy, so the moment Magneto spoke, he was ready to step forward. But for a split second, Magneto's arm rose. The force of the magnetic field held Wolverine firmly in place. Wolverine's pupils shrank, and it was as if a hold spell had been cast on her whole body, being held in place by Magneto and unable to move an inch. "Isn't this magical metal covering your whole body?" Magneto gave Logan a look up and down. Magneto looked at Wolverine, who had tried his best to break free, with contempt. In the face of overwhelming restraint, no matter how hard Wolverine struggles, she cannot escape her control. Why did you grab me? Wolverine felt as if her body was going to be torn in two, and the intense pain made Logan's back sweat continuously, and the shirt on his body was soaked in sweat. Quote. You, dear child, who said I was going to catch you? My target has never been you. Magneto looked at Wolverine in surprise, and spoke calmly. This sentence immediately made Wolverine's complexion change. Logan squinted hard at the little rascal who was sitting next to him with a face full of fear. Before he could react, Magneto gently raised his hand and pushed Logan in the air. Boom! Ah! Wolverine roared unwillingly, and her whole body flew upside down uncontrollably. The thick iron door was dented and shattered by the impact of Wolverine, whose body was covered in adamantium, and the impact also knocked Logan unconscious on the spot. Chapter 53. Seeing Logan fainting, Little Rascal got up from his chair in horror and wanted to run away. Through the conversation between Wolverine and Magneto just now, Little Rascal didn't know that the reason why the other party attacked twice was to arrest him. Without Wolverine's protection, Little Rascal couldn't escape even if he wanted to. In front of Magneto, the Little Rascal didn't have any ability to resist, and was captured easily. Such a smooth capture of the target further deepened Magneto's dissatisfaction with Sabretooth. And it also made Magneto more sure that there are indeed a lot of waste in his current mutant brotherhood. Led by Magneto, he and a group of members of the Mutant Brotherhood came out of the station aggressively. The police officers in NY City had already been waiting outside the station for a long time. Seeing the appearance of Magneto and others, the police officers in NY City raised their pistols and aimed at them. Scanning the police officers with guns indifferently, Magneto tilted his head. The pistol that was originally held by the police officers was locked by a huge force. Before they could react, the pistol came out of their hands and flew into the air. This scene made all the police officers stunned. When they looked up and saw the pistol floating in midair slowly turning its direction, all the police officers began to sweat on their foreheads. Until Magneto pointed his gun at them, the faces of all the police officers present suddenly turned pale, and they didn't dare to move anymore. At this critical moment, Charles and others, who were one step behind Logan, finally arrived at the scene. Seeing that Magneto was about to start killing, Charles immediately used his mind control ability to control Sabretooth standing beside Magneto. Magneto didn't notice Sabretooth's abnormality at the first time. Charles's mind control ability is so silent. Magneto, unable to react in time, looked down at Sabretooth who was strangling his neck, with a cold gleam in his eyes. This guy, is he planning to betray himself at such a critical moment? Just as Magneto thought of this, a familiar tone sounded from Sabretooth. Enough, Eric. This tone of voice immediately made Magneto understand what was going on. Knowing that Sabretooth and Toad, the rogue carrying Toad, were controlled by Charles, Magneto was furious. Damn Charles, always come out to disrupt the situation at critical moments. Looking around, he had a panoramic view of police cars and terrified police officers. However, Magneto did not see Charles. Knowing that Charles was hiding in the dark, Magneto couldn't help but shouted coldly, "Charles, why don't you come out and let me see you? It's all here, why don't you just come out and meet my old friend in person?" Magneto is a bit restless. Carl, who was floating in outer space basking in the sun, clicked his tongue lightly. With Carl's personality right now, he really wanted to see what it would be like to get Project Magneto going. It's just that Carl didn't trigger the task, and he didn't bother to take care of it, just let the plot develop on its own. Take a panoramic view of the confrontation process between Charles and Magneto. This kind of image is a familiar scene in the X-Men movies. In the past, this kind of scene could only be seen on the screen. Now that he witnessed the reenactment of the X-Men plot with his own eyes, even if Carl watched it several times, he still feels it with gusto. If it wasn't for popcorn and Coke, Carl would have been eating while watching a movie. Ignoring Magneto's words, Charles took control of Sabretooth and grabbed him by the neck. Then he controlled Magneto to turn around and walk away with the naughty Toad on his left hand. At this moment, Magneto shouted angrily, "Charles, you'd better stop, unless you want all these people to die here." Toad's steps faltered as Magneto felt the strength of Sabretooth's grip on his neck weaken. With Magneto threatening the lives of countless police officers, Charles couldn't bear the massacre, and finally had to let Magneto take the little rascal away first. Charles also didn't know what Magneto's purpose was. So much trouble just to catch the little rascal. What the hell is there to do with Magneto, little rascal? Although Charles couldn't figure it out, it was clear that the lives of countless police officers around him were under threat. After weighing the pros and cons, Charles finally let Magneto go. Watching Charles let Magneto go, Carl shook his head. Carl knew Charles's character well, he was just too kind. With the addition of the original, you know the development of the plot, and Carl is not surprised by this result. Thinking about it carefully, Charles, who has a powerful spiritual ability, can clearly exterminate all mutants and humans easily under the premise of using a brain-wave amplifier. But even so, Charles still abides by his heart, and will not even use telepathy ability to invade other people's minds to read other people's thoughts at will. This kind of excellent quality is really rare. But after thinking about it, Carl understood what Charles was planning. Letting Magneto go now, the Mutant Academy actually has a chance to save the little rascal. But if you decide to fight Magneto to the end, many innocent people will die. So Charles can only watch as Magneto and the Mutant Brotherhood take the little rascal. After the confrontation between Charles and Magneto ended, Carl, who had been basking in the sun in outer space, also began to move his body. I'm almost done with the sun too. Seeing the dawn of NY City, Carl also prepared to go home and continue to bask in the sun on the rooftop. Floating in outer space all the time, Carl couldn't be more boring. Gently twisting his arms, Carl's hard bones under the terrifying muscle density made a crackling sound. Slowly clenching his hands into fists, a surging and vast aura surged out of the muscle cells in Carl's body in an instant. The eyes glanced to the space around the body. Carl could clearly feel that the space around him was obviously affected by the power overflowing from his body, and even vaguely showed signs of distortion. Chapter 54. After some simple activities, Carl clicked on the personal attribute interface with his mind. The integration progress of the two Superman templates has improved compared to yesterday. Therefore, under the blessing of the double template, Carl grew faster after bathing in the sun than yesterday. Host: Carl. Current integrate template: Steel Body Superman template integrate degree 5.2%, Silver Superman template integrate degree 2%. The progress of the template to be unlocked in the next level 1 stage 0% template to be unlocked, Thinking Machine Superman. Current strength 43,442 tons. Current speed Mach 33. Natural resistance 9,999% resistance to kryptonite. Awakening ability Hot Sight. It can release high temperature of 113,700 degrees Celsius with powerful impact. Open black lens bracket perspective close black lens bracket. In just one day, Carl doubled his strength from nearly 20,000 tons to 43,000 tons. You know, it's only been a few days since Carl got the template of the double Superman. This exaggerated growth rate, even Carl himself was speechless for a while. Even the Silver Superman in the DC Comics did not grow at such an exaggerated speed after coming to Blue Star to bathe in the yellow sun. It's only been a few days since I got the blood of Superman, which is actually equivalent to a Superman who just came to Blue Star for a few days. It stands to reason that my growth rate shouldn't be so fast. Is it because I'm an adult, so I have to grow up faster than the young Clark? Or, do I have the excellent fighter ability like Zod? Carl had many guesses in his mind. Combined with the speed at which General Zod became stronger after arriving at Blue Star in the movie and the terrifying adaptability, Carl thinks his deduction should be correct. According to this growth rate, my strength will be enough to break through 100,000 tons in 5 days. When Zod and others arrive at Blue Star, I will definitely have the strength to fight against them. Mutant Academy. Magneto and others were let go last night, and Charles and the others could only take Logan back to Mutant Academy. Logan, who was knocked into a coma by Magneto, also knew what happened last night after waking up. Unfortunately, Logan, the helmet worn by Magneto, has the ability to shield my telepathy. I can't find him now. Charles pondered for a moment, and told the truth. Since your ability can't find Magneto's location, I can only look for it with my own eyes. It will definitely not do anything good if that guy Magneto takes the little rascal away. Charles, you should have heard that Magneto is a ruthless person. Just as Logan pushed open the door involuntarily, preparing to leave Mutant Academy again. The figure walking in from the door immediately surprised everyone present. Because this person is the congressman who escaped from Magneto, and is also the main promoter of the current Mutant Registration Act. In excruciating physical pain, counselors who came to Mutant College spoke of their pleas for help. Charles and the others immediately led the congressman to the treatment room. Here, Charles uses the telepathy ability on the senator. That's how Charles learned of Magneto's true purpose. Charles, who knew about Magneto's plan, was terrified at the moment. Magneto actually made a machine that can transform ordinary people into mutants. Even, Magneto wants to turn all the people attending the summit into mutants. And the example of a successful experiment is the very painful congressman in front of him. After figuring out Magneto's purpose, Charles panicked. Charles knows better than anyone that Magneto's plan is really crazy. The contradiction between mutants and ordinary people in the current world is deepening day by day. Charles has always been committed to making mutant live in peace with ordinary people, and Magneto has a completely different philosophy from Charles because of his own experience. Magneto is in the mutant camp. He is a man who thinks about the mutant race. Magneto knows that this society doesn't want to see mutants, so he wants to turn everyone into mutants. Only when everyone becomes mutant, the original contradiction will disappear. This extreme approach, success or failure, will determine the direction of mutant on this planet. Facing Magneto's crazy action plan, Charles, Jean Grey, and the others also started discussing sentence by sentence. But at this moment, the congressman transformed into a mutant by Magneto suddenly died suddenly. The sudden news immediately made Charles and others realize the seriousness of the matter. If Magneto is allowed to carry out the plan smoothly, wouldn't the leaders from all over the world participating in the summit be transformed into mutants? But after transforming into mutant, this kind of forced genetic mutation will make their bodies unable to bear it. They will all die. The sacrifice of heads of state is absolutely unbearable for the mutant race. Can't let Magneto do that. The little rascal must be found immediately. Charles looked at Jean Grey. As a student of Charles, Jean Grey, who has studied with him for many years, immediately understood. The moment Jean Grey was about to push Charles's wheelchair and led everyone to the room of the brain wave enhancement device. Suddenly there was a piercing sonic boom in the sky. This astonishing momentum moved Chingelei's heart. Is that Mr. Carl is here? Chapter 55. The most obvious sign of Carl's presence was the powerful sonic boom piercing the sky. At this stage, only Carl's flight speed can create this amazing momentum. So the X-Men's speculation is not unreasonable. Just when the Mutant Academy was in a commotion over the constantly sonic boom. The Hellfire Club on the other side actually received an invitation letter from Magneto. Hellfire Club, this is a place where the richest and most powerful people in the world gather. Membership in the Hellfire Club is by invitation only. In the underground society, members of the Hellfire Club are a symbol of the highest status recognized worldwide. And such a special club is mainly composed of Black King, Black Queen, White King, White Queen and other ordinary members. It is worth mentioning that the Black Queen, White Queen, and White Queen are not actually a pair, they are just a cooperative relationship with each other. Tony Stark, his father Howard Stark, and even Norman Osborn of the Osborn Group have all been invited to join the Hellfire Club. But no one knows. The Hellfire Club with such a high status is actually a special institution dominated by mutants. At the moment, the Black Emperor Sebastian Shaw in the Hellfire Club was frowning, checking the invitation letter from Magneto. In this world, there are irreconcilable contradictions between Sebastian Shaw and Magneto. This irreconcilable contradiction dates back to when Magneto was a teenager. At that time, the young Black Emperor Sebastian shot and killed Magneto's mother face to face in order to make Magneto perfect his awakening ability. It is precisely because of this behavior that the young Magneto is extremely angry. The anger made the potential in the young Magneto explode, which led to further awakening and improved his ability to a higher level. Since the shooting of Magneto's mother, Sebastian has faintly disappeared. But in fact Sebastian has been secretly planning unknown. The grown-up Magneto was able to successfully establish the Mutant Brotherhood, thanks to Sebastian's secret push. Sebastian grew up watching Magneto, so he knows Magneto's abilities and talents better than anyone else. Led by a powerful Magneto, the Mutant Brotherhood's power will surely grow bigger and bigger. What's even more exaggerated is that Sebastian wanted to make his ambitions more smoothly implemented. Under the undercurrent of his secret agitation, Magneto was successfully elected as one of the 2 leaders of mutant in the current world. After successfully promoting Magneto to the position of one of the mutant leaders, Sebastian entered the Hellfire Club. Relying on his powerful ability, Sebastian successfully became the Black King of Hellfire Club. Magneto, whom he elected to the top, develops his power on the bright side, while Sebastian waits for an opportunity in the dark. While advancing his plan in an orderly manner, Sabotage's ambition was officially revealed: let mutant rule the world. That's right, the ultimate goal of Black Emperor Sebastian is to let mutant rule the world. And after mutant rules this world, he, Sebastian, will become the real king of this world, not some Black Emperor. But Sebastian also knew that the water in this world was too deep. The Sorcerer Supreme that exists in New York, the descendants of the main gods walking in the world, the spy of the dark dimension, and the threat in the universe. Under the combination of these factors, the Black Emperor has never dared to formally implement his plan. In the eyes of Black Emperor Sebastian, if these potential threats are underestimated, each of these threats may become a fatal crisis. For this reason, the Black Emperor has been developing in secret. Now, even in the face of nuclear bombs released by humans, he can easily absorb energy. But the Black Emperor knew that just this level was not enough. Sebastian, who should have continued to develop silently, suddenly received an invitation letter from Magneto today. After reading the contents of the invitation letter, Haiwang fell into deep thought. Magneto would invite him to a great ceremony today. In the eyes of the Black Emperor, this is undoubtedly a grand banquet. Which normal person would invite the person who killed his own mother to a grand feast? In the eyes of the Black Emperor, Magneto's behavior was not something that a person with a normal mind would do. But what was mentioned in the invitation really interested Sebastian. Turn all ordinary humans participating in the summit into mutants. The Black Emperor's eyes flickered. What exactly does Magneto have to do to turn ordinary people into mutants? If he really has this ability, doesn't that mean that the Mutant Brotherhood established by Magneto has already surpassed the Hellfire Club? Thinking of this, Haiwang didn't know what to think of, and his eyes flashed. This Hongman banquet is definitely an opportunity for him. If you can figure out how Magneto turns ordinary humans into mutants, wouldn't it be equivalent to infinitely expanding your own power? When the time comes to mass-produce mutants, won't it be easier for mutants to rule the world? As for Magneto's fighting power, he is no match for the current Black Emperor at all. The Black Emperor is confident that he can defeat Magneto within a single encounter. After making a decision in his mind, the Black Emperor immediately contacted the White Queen. The Black Emperor intends to take the White Queen and all his subordinates to the place where Magneto's grand ceremony will be held. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.